Hello, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Michelle, and today we're going to be talking about one of the most common difficulties when moving to a new city, making new friends. As a 7-year abroad expat, I know exactly what it's like to move to another city and not know anyone. I actually moved abroad initially, and every single time I've ever moved abroad, I have actually moved alone. So I know this can be very difficult for some people, but since I got through it, I know you can too. So today I'm going to be giving you a few tips that will help you to make new friends in each city that you're going to and how to stay open-minded, because it can get lonely sometimes if you don't have a network in a new city. It can get lonely if you're not there with your friends and family. And because I've done this quite a few times, I'm here to help you on your mission to making new friends. Let's go. So the first tip is to get involved with local activities and local events. You can do things like attending festivals, joining a sports league, joining a yoga class, joining whatever kind of group, because by doing these things, one, you're doing something that you like to do, hopefully, maybe you're trying something new, and then you are also meeting other people who are in that space. These are great ways to have fun while not being focused solely on making friends. For example, I love volleyball. If you know me, I love volleyball, and I also love dancing. And one thing I've been able to do in almost every city I've ever been to is actually partner dancing. Salsa and bachata are very common dances, and now I dance kizomba, and it is a way that I meet so many new people because I'm doing something I love, and we also already have a shared common interest. So even if we're not necessarily connecting on a level where I would want to share all of my private details with them, it does offer me an opportunity to make friends that like to do the same things as me. So I will have people to chat with when I go to those dance festivals, the parties, the social. Things like volleyball, I've been playing since I don't know when at this point. And it's also another thing that is very easy to bond with people over because you're playing something that you both like, hopefully. And it's a great way to meet new people. It's a great way to be active. And once again, even if you don't connect on that deeper level with the person, if you like them enough, you'll want to keep playing with them. I think that sports are a great way with meeting new people, and they're also a great way for you to stay active and explore the city as well. Here's a pro tip: don't be scared to do these things alone, because when you are going to them alone, you're actually quite open to meeting and talking to new people. For partner dancing type events, I actually usually prefer to go alone unless the other person also dances. Why is that? Because most of the time I'm going to be dancing. If all goes well, I should be dancing the entire night. And if you are with a friend who doesn't dance as much, although it's nice to have them there and have them explore the scene, in many ways I also start to feel a bit responsible for them. And I'm not responsible for them, but because I brought them there, I will start to feel like, oh, I need to give them a lot more of my time instead of me just enjoying my time. So don't be scared to go alone. It's actually really fun, and you will be way more open to meeting new people. The second tip is to join a local club or organization. So this is where things like meetup and book clubs, hiking clubs, internations, couch surfing, these kinds of things are very, very useful, and I have used a lot when I've been moving to different cities. What are these things? So for example, meetup.com is a great website where you can find tons of different people who are interested in many different things, so you can always find something that's related to you. Of course, in different cities, there's going to be more meetups than in other cities where there's going to be a few less meetups. Meetup.com is not the only way to find a meetup. For couch surfing, funny enough, I did a lot of couch surfing when I was much younger, but I didn't always stay at people's houses. I actually used couch surfing for what they call coffee meetup, where it's basically just meeting up with other people that are in town or that live there. So very often when I go on solo trips, especially if I'm not staying at a hostel, I will often use couch surfing as a way to find other people who are also just traveling around, open to meeting new people. You can find a meetup that relates to a sport you're interested in, or it could be just an expat meetup. Whatever the case may be, usually it's like, okay, we're going to be meeting at this place where there'll be a bar, a restaurant, or to do some type of activity, and then you can just join in. Most of the time it's free. Sometimes the event might cost itself, but you can always see that before you show up to it. The same goes with couch surfing, except couch surfing is always free. Internations is something similar to Meetup and Couchsurfing in the way that you can meet a lot of people. And they're usually people who are interested in expat life. Maybe they have been an expat, they are an expat, maybe they are traveling for business, or they're just interested in expats that live in their city. It's a great way to network as well. So something like Internations has the same similar interface where you are going to be going to a group situation, you have a common interest, and then someone is organizing it. So sometimes you do have to pay for Internations. I think for the Albatross membership, it's like 30 euros or something like this. And then you have access to all of their information on where to meet up and things like this. So Meetup is free, Couchsurfing is free. Some of the events may cost, but most are free. Internations, same thing. Some events may cost, whether it be like wine tasting. I have a coworker who often goes to the wine tasting events here in Munich. You can also go to different things like painting class, cooking class, whatever it may be. But it's a really, really great and easy way to meet other people. So don't be turned off by the fact that you have to pay for it, but do take into account. Generally with Internations, it's going to be more of an expat group, and you are going to have maybe a bit of an older age range. And by older, I mean the age range is probably going to be closer to like 35 and up versus Meetup. It can be a huge range depending on what the activity is. And the same with Couchsurfing, maybe it's going to be a bit younger. So maybe Couchsurfing is probably going to be like 40 and under, generally speaking. I've met some amazing people on Couchsurfing, mostly from just meeting up with them. And I'm still friends with those people to this day. So you never know where you're going to find the people that you get along with the best. But just put yourself out there and see, because you can test it out and you never know. Someone else might be also looking for someone like you in the exact same place. There's also Bumble BFF, which I have not yet tried, although I do know people who have made friends off of it. Bumble BFF, if you don't know, Bumble itself is a dating app mostly. However, now there is Bumble BFF. I think there's also a business networking aspect. But Bumble BFF is basically the same concept where you're swiping, but you are trying to match people as friends. So if you find someone who has a common shared interest, you meet up and then you can say, hey, do you want to meet up for a coffee or whatever it may be? So it's another way to meet people, but it's not meant to be romantic. So don't go on there trying to be sneaky. It's not meant to be romantic. If you want it to be romantic, go to the normal Bumble. And Bumble BFF is a great way to meet friends. So let me know in the comments, have you tried Bumble BFF or any of these other meetup platforms? I've had great success with them, but tell me your stories. Tip number 3, attend networking events and conferences. Networking events and conferences are a great way to meet people in your industry, and it's also a great opportunity to learn more about what's going on in your own community when it comes to things in your professional life. I find that these are especially good if you are an entrepreneur or a digital nomad or someone who works remotely. This is a great way for you to see what other opportunities there are within your field. And this is also a great way for you to learn more about the people in your industry. It's always easier to already have common grounds established when you're meeting people. So by going to networking events at conferences, you already have established that you have a similar interest or a similar way that you spend a lot of your time. Going to these events, not only are you going to learn more about your industry, but you're also going to learn more about people that maybe you want to talk to. Maybe there are future opportunities there for work, or maybe there are just future opportunities there for friendships. Another great place you can meet people would be at co-working spaces. Co-working spaces often encourage you to meet the other people because most of you are working remotely or working alone. Sometimes an entire company can be set up in a co-working space, but other times it's just a bunch of other digital nomads or people who are working remotely who are looking for some office space or looking to network with other people. You have to be cautious to not try to impose yourself when people are trying to work, but a lot of these places often have networking events or events where you can meet other people in a more friendly way. So when I went to Barcelona, I actually found on my Urban Sports Club, which is like a class pass kind of app, I actually went to yoga, morning rooftop yoga in Barcelona that was held at a co-working space. So this, if I was working as a digital nomad at the time, would have been a great way for me to meet other people that are hanging out at the co-working space, and also for me to invite them to do something else outside of just this workspace environment. It seems very casual, and it's not like I'm asking them on a date, but I'm saying, hey, why don't we see if we bond over something else? That is a great way to expand your network within your workplace as well. Different people have different boundaries when it comes to coworkers. However, I think if you were just trying to be a bit more friendly and get out a bit more, this is a great way to expand. The next tip I have for you is using social media. This one seems so obvious because in my mind, this is what it was originally used for, was to connect us. And, a lot of us are only being connected on our phone, but now we can actually utilize it to be connected in person. So by utilizing social media such as Facebook groups, Facebook groups are probably one of the best ways to meet people when you're in a new city, because you can also get a little bit of background on them, but you can join groups that once again suit your interest. For example, here in Munich, there are groups like Munich expats, there are groups for playing volleyball, there are groups for everything you can possibly think of. It's just up to you whether you are going to do your research to be able to find these groups. I would often use hashtags for things I like. For example, if I wanted to go play volleyball, I would search volleyball in Barcelona, volleyball in Munich, beach volleyball in Munich, 2v2 volleyball in Munich. Whatever I want to type in, eventually something's going to come up that will show this. Now you had, of course, if you were in a small town, this is going to be a bit different, but this might be a great way for you to find some actual people. So maybe you could get on Instagram. The thing about social media is you do need to be a bit more cautious about your safety. So if you're a bit nervous about meeting up with people for the first time, maybe try to get a group together the first time, or try to meet, especially in like a public location. Don't give them all of your information about where you're living and all these things, but use your discernment. And if you feel like you aren't someone who has great discernment, maybe only go to the group meetups at first so that you can have a bit better judgment of character by the person in person. You never know what can happen. Anything can happen in all given cases, but make sure you're being safe. Here's another one that may seem so obvious, but you'd be surprised how many people don't do this. Be open. Be open to new experiences. This is so crucial in being able to be open to meeting new people. Try new things, because in those spaces where you're taking that courage, that you're being brave, you're overcoming your fear of trying something new, you're becoming more open also within that environment. So if I go and try a new dance or a new class, I'm more likely to be a bit more open if someone comes to approach me. Maybe it's not the case for you. Let me know. But for me, when I go to a new hip hop class and I'm working on it, I am a little bit more open to speaking to people. It doesn't mean necessarily that I'm always going up and initiating conversation. However, if I'm already in this jittery, a bit nervous mode, it is nice when someone does come and greet you. So I do feel like by putting yourself into these situations, you're giving yourself more confidence, funny enough, because you are taking yourself and reassuring yourself that everything will be okay in this moment. Say yes when you're getting invites to doing new and different things. Of course, this doesn't mean saying yes to people you really don't like, or saying yes to a date even though you don't want to go on the date. This just means saying yes to experiences that maybe you wouldn't have normally done. My mom, for example, the other day was talking about going horseback riding. I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. She doesn't go horseback riding on a regular basis, but it would have been something new for her to try. So say yes to new experiences, because you never know who you're going to meet in these different experiences. And either way, you got to try something new. So regardless of whether it's the best thing you've ever done, you have to give yourself some credit for trying something new. You've just moved to a new city, so you might as well explore it. And here is a big one that I think a lot of people maybe need to hear this. Don't force it. You don't have to force yourself to be friends with everyone. If anything, you're an adult when you're watching this, you should know yourself a bit better. And if you don't know yourself, maybe that's a great place to start. But as you get to know yourself better, you're going to know what kind of people you click with and which ones you don't. And some people aren't going to be your best friend. You don't have to make everyone your best friend. And just because they're not your best friend doesn't mean you can't hang out with them if you like them a bit. Use your own discernment and don't force it. If you feel like this person is cool, but they're not my person, then regulate how much time you're going to be spending with them and how much energy you're going to be putting into that friendship. Don't give up. It does work eventually, but you have to expand your network. I'm going to make a comparison that I often use when I'm trying to find a high level of volleyball in a city. It's the same way you can use to try to find your friends. So I will go play. Let's say you go to an event and you meet someone and you're like, okay, out of this whole group, I click with this girl or this guy or whatever. Then you say, I'm going to hang out with them again. I could hang out with them on one-on-one, but even better if I can have an opportunity to meet their friends. Why? Because if I click with them, there's a better chance that I'm going to click with the other people, or I'm going to click better with someone in their network. For example, if I go play volleyball, I look for who is the best player in this situation, because usually higher level groups, it takes a while to figure out where are they. Maybe you get lucky the first time, but maybe not. And so you enjoy that day, but then you find the person who is the best player. So who is the best fit for you in that group? You say, hey, let's play again sometime. Next time you go play, boom, I'm going to look at that group and be like, okay, who is the best person in this group? Who is the best fit? Go ask them, hey, let's play again sometime. And eventually now you have a larger network because you've met people in all of these situations. Plus, you are now molding who you actually want to spend more time with. And that is exactly how I create my networks in new cities. It's how I create my network within the dance community. It's how I create my network basically everywhere I go, because I'm open to meeting more people, but not everyone is going to get the same level of attention from me. Be cautious with your energy and be cautious with your time, but be open to new experiences. If you're looking for better tips on how to connect with people, check out my video here where I talk about how to make better connections. It's also really great. So there you have it. Network, and with your working network.